with Michelle's 3 minor children, Renee's grandchildren. During this raid, the family was held at gunpoint and they were traumatized while approximately 50 police officers ransacked the house looking for a homicide suspect. Approximately 45 minutes later, after the raid started, police abruptly left the home because they had discovered that they had raided the wrong home. MSP's initiation of this raid was also an unreasonable seizure within the meaning of the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. In addition to violating several provisions of the U.S. Constitution, the police left this family in a state of mind that has forever changed their lives. The family will now tell you about the trauma they are dealing with, along with their interest in doing all within their power to ensure that these reckless, inconsiderate, and violent acts don't continue to happen to innocent victims. They are calling for a ban on no-knock warrants and requesting a Department of Justice investigation to explore and examine the policies, training, and supervision of MSP and their partner agencies, particularly as they relate and impact minority communities throughout the state of Michigan. My name is Teresa Bingman, and I'm an attorney, and you will now hear from the family spokesperson, Reverend Aaron Dunnigan.
Good afternoon. There are a lot of things that happen that I can overlook, but this is just not one of them. When the people you pay to protect you begin to victimize you, you're in a position to where you can't win, you can't succeed, and that's what has happened to my family. I don't know if they will ever recover from the experience of having the people that are supposed to protect you come into their homes and held them at gunpoint for over an hour. I stood outside my mother's house for about 45 minutes in the cold, not knowing if they were dead or alive or anything. They were told that they could not answer their phones, that they could not make a phone call. All they was told to do was sit still while they conducted the search of the wrong address. We were told that they were at the wrong address after talking to one of the lieutenants and that they should not have been at this house. Since then, that story has changed, and we want to get to the bottom of the story. I wouldn't want to live in a world without police, but I wouldn't want to live in a world where the police can just come in your house and do what they want, when they want, without any consequences or repercussions. So we are calling for an investigation into the policies, into how they conduct business, into the communities in which look like we do. 50 officers, and I only saw one black officer out of the bunch, all plain clothes with the exception of the SWAT team. Nobody who looks like my family policing my family. There is something not right with that picture. So at this time, my family will come up and just share how they feel, how they're doing, and what they would like to see happen from this event.
Good afternoon. My name is Renee Dunnigan, and I'm the mother of Michelle Colston and my grandkids. And on the night of April the 21st, 2021, I was sitting in my living room braiding my granddaughter Anaya's hair, and I saw flashing lights outside of my door, which I'm very nosy. I usually get up and see what happened, but God just told me don't move. So I decided to sit there. And as I sat there, I heard the running on the stairs, but like I said, kids are always on my porch, so I didn't think anything of it. And a few minutes after there, the door was kicked in, and we were told to put our hands up, so we held our hands up, me and my 14-year-old granddaughter, not knowing what's going on. And then I stated to the police, like, what's happening? You could have just knocked on the door, and I would have opened the door willingly, because we don't even have a stick pin here or do harm to anybody. So they continued to search, tearing up, flipping stuff over. And then they asked who else was in the house. I said, my daughter is in the first bedroom sleeping with her toddler, and my 10-year-old grandson is in the back room. So they started to call her down. As my grandson's coming down, they got guns, beams on him, and he's crying, saying, can I just sit with my grandmother? So he came down, and then my daughter proceeds to come down, and she has nothing but a nightie on, and they're telling her to drop her phone, and she dropped the phone and want to know if she can get the toddler. So she gets the baby, come down to sit, and we're just there saying, can we call anybody? What is this for? We did nothing wrong or anything, and we're not knowing nothing until they decided that they was through terrorizing us, the house and everything. So at the end, we did have a detective to come in and say, well, it was a car in the driveway, which we have a shared driveway. And we asked them, they asked us which car was mine. My daughter told them which was mine. And I was like, if you would have just ran the plate or just asked us which cars belong to us, we could have told you that it was the car to the neighbor's house. So after they realized that the lieutenant had said they was at the wrong place, they was sorry, but they said sorry, and then they just proceeded to leave. So at this point, like I said, my kids are devastated, the grandkids. The smallest one, who always wanted to be a police, now he never wants to be a police. If he see police, he want to say, let's go, the police going to go. Or we was at my son's house, they say the police finna kick in the door. This is something that we have to deal with every day. And for us to have to be strong just for them, it's not, we can't be strong all the time. So it's a cover up for us, just for the kids, who plays outside all the time, and now we live in a neighborhood that we could sit on the porch all night if we choose, but now we can't because whatever happened in the situation, we don't know if it's retaliation, and now they done been to my house, so we gotta worry if it's anything, then we got brackets on the door hasn't been replaced, and it's going on 2 months. So this is what we're living with now. Thank you.
My name is Michelle Kostan. I am the mother of the 3 children that was in the home. I was not in the living room at the time when they first barged in. I had just got out the bath. All I had on was a nightgown. And all I hear is my 10-year-old son at the top of the stairs crying, begging, saying, can I please come down? Can I just come down? So I got my phone in my hand, and I just walk out the room to see what's going on. My room is directly at the top of the stairs. The stairway is about this narrow. And as I come out of my bedroom door, all I see is SWATs with shields that's from the floor up to here and green and red beams. And all they say is, drop the phone, put the phone down. And all I had was it in my hand. It wasn't even, the screen wasn't on or anything. Drop the phone, put the phone down. And my first initial thought was, I see all of these white cops, everything that's going on in the world right now. I'm black, I'm already guilty. So the first thing I do is I drop my phone and I just plead. I say, I have a toddler sleeping in my bed. Can I go grab my toddler? I grab my toddler. I'm not worried about putting on anything. I just grab him. At this time, I just want to comply because my main goal is to leave alive with my 3 kids. So I comply. I get downstairs. They automatically make us sit on the couch. I ask one of the detectives, can I put a cover or something around me? All I have on is a nightgown. We had a throw blanket on the couch. They did let us put the throw blanket on. By this time, we're just sitting on the couch, and they're just ramshacking, and I'm asking the detective, is anyone going to tell us what's going on? By this time, what I remember the most is we sat there for so long that my living room TV had went into screensaver mode, and I just see the time just keep adding up. Time going by, 30 minutes going by, 45 minutes going by. No one is still saying anything. They even went as far as one of the lieutenants said, or the detective said, someone's phone is ringing upstairs. And I'm like, for you to pick and tell me I can't touch my phone, but to tell me that it's constantly ringing, and now I know that it's because my family is worried about us. My family is trying to call. I said, my brother lives in Grand Blanc. He's going to be on his way. Can I just answer the phone on speakerphone and just say we're alive? You know how many accidents it can cause by him getting here? No, you can't answer the phone. You can't go get the phone. And they just proceeded to, we're trying to ask questions. I'm asking, is anyone going to tell us what's going on? He says, yes, the big detective is going to come in. He's going to ask questions. He'll let you know what happened. None of that happened. By the time they realized it was the wrong house, 50 of them now are dwindling out, and it's only 4 people left. And they're just asking each other, is there anything else? Are we all set? Not wanting to tell us anything, not going to tell us anything. They were just going to leave with, we didn't find anything, have a good day. They wasn't going to tell us it was the wrong house. They wasn't going to tell us that it was anything until we proceeded to continue to ask questions. My 14-year-old didn't sleep for weeks. For my daughter, as a parent, my #1 job is to protect them. And for me to be sitting inches away from my daughter and for her to tell me, Mom, I thought I was going to die. Did you feel like you were going to die? As a parent, that's one of the biggest failures to feel like at the hands of the police who's supposed to protect us. My daughter is feeling like my mom is right here. She can't save me. And it's a disaster because now not alone do I have to try and deal with my kids going through therapy, me having to go through therapy because I don't know how to deal with answering the questions that they're asking because she don't know, but I felt the same way. I don't know if we're going to leave her alive. And it's just very devastating because even after the fact, you know, they didn't want to really tell us what was going on. And it was just for us to just sit here and me not have the answers to even be able to give my kids as a parent is one of the worst things in the world. And we just want closure. We want closure. We want the answers we deserve. We don't feel like they should be able to do this to any other family, to be able to go in and terrorize their house and their families and then just leave and it's like, oh, have a good day. It's not okay.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bill Goodman. I'm one of the lawyers who represents this wonderful family. I've been a civil rights lawyer for a long time. And one of the things that we have called this press conference to announce is that we have sent, at the end of last week, a letter to the United States Department of Justice asking for an investigation of what happened here. The investigation needs to look into the way in which this warrant was executed, the way in which this family was terrorized, and the way in which they made the decision, the initial decision, to go to this particular house at all. It was careless and reckless. And the press release which the Michigan State Police issued makes clear how careless it was. They say they received information that this was supposed to be the house. They received it from a confidential informant who within minutes after they learned they're in the wrong house, they determined had intentionally given them false information about which house to go to. Now, if they can get that information within minutes after they learned they made a mistake, they ought to have been able to discern that this was not a reliable witness to start with, and that this information was unreliable, and it certainly did not warrant the use of a no-knock warrant, the smashing in of people's door, the destruction of their evening, and in many ways, the damaging and injury of their lives. This is something that we all know would not happen in a white neighborhood. The only reason it happened in Flint's North End is because of the fact that it is a predominantly black community. As well, this is not the first time that the state police have been reckless in terms of how they've operated within this particular neighborhood. For a number of years, there were high-speed chases conducted for relatively minor offenses, completely at the discretion of police officers to whether to engage in a high-speed chase. And many innocent victims were seriously damaged and killed as a result of those chases. And this was a policy which you cannot overlook the fact that this had a clearly disparate impact on an African-American community, and that these kinds of chases and injuries did not occur in white neighborhoods. So we want an investigation. We want the racial disparity looked at. We want the intentional racism looked at. We want the use of force and seizure of this family looked at. And we demand it, and we will demand it in court, and we demand it of the Justice Department. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Our lived experiences are not up for question this afternoon. But what is up for question is, are we as a society ready to do something different and recognize the humanity of black and brown people in this country? I'm Todd Womack, pastor of Community Connections from Flint Central Church of the Nazarene. It is an honor and privilege to speak today by request from the Dunnigan family. I'm truly humbled by their ask and their trust in me to say a few words. I'm reminded of the times that I would take my family on an outing in Flint community, whether it be to the park, to the mall, or to a friend's house. We enjoyed our time together with friends and family. On every occasion, when we returned to our place of residence, with my youngest son securely secured in the back seat in his car seat, we returned into our driveway, and once I put the car in park, without reservation, he would yell out in a joyous voice, "We home, Daddy, we home." Home, the place where one lives, especially as a member of a family or household. Home, an enjoyable, happy place where you can live, laugh, and learn. It's somewhere where you are loved, respected, and cared for. Home, the place where you feel you belong. Now, when you look at home from the outside, home is just a house. But as the late prophet Dr. Luther Vandross once proclaimed, but a room is not a house, and a house is not a home when the two of us are far apart, and when one of us has a broken heart. The Dunnigan family, on April 21st, their ideal of home was broken as a no-knock warrant was issued and executed. I'm reminded of a friend of mine who I work with at McDowell's. He always talks about relationships within the context of refrigerator rights. You know, that wholehearted, vulnerable, and loving relationship you have with someone, and that someone can go into your kitchen, right? Go into your refrigerator without asking permission and get something out of that refrigerator to quench their thirst. Yes, refrigerator rights. What if one day that person came to your house unannounced and proceeded to walk into your house, walk into your kitchen, open up your refrigerator and take something out while tracking mud on your floor all along the way? Would they still have refrigerator rights? Would they still be welcomed? Or would they have to make amends? Trust is something that flows out of a wholehearted, transparent, and accountable relationship. There are events and experiences that happen in our lives that allow us to respond in a way that either produces trust or mistrust. It is my belief that when trust has been violated, that the violator would humble themselves and ask for forgiveness, and to ask the offended what is necessary to repair the relationship. For trust to exist between two entities, this must be our way of life, a way of life that we practice daily, a way of life that can be reflected as we gather here today.
So first and foremost, definitely want to send peace and blessings to the Dunnigan and Coastal family for an unfortunate incident that took place on the day, and also the children. What we're talking about here is illegal entry, and that's a problem. That's been a policy problem that Michigan State Police, other police departments and agencies have been doing all around the country. And what they did was they hit the wrong house this time, and people got activated. And so when I say, and the problems that we have with illegal entry, and we've heard a number of issues today, but the thing is, it shouldn't be taking place at all. When you can go off a tip from an anonymous source or from an informant who's just trying to spill some time or trying to get the weight off of them, they'll do anything and say anything. And so we acting on those tips, then we are not doing our due diligence. And that's a problem. You know, I saw the whole thing play out, and it's very unfortunate to see small children with big guns in their face and not knowing why and the reason why. And I know this family. This family is a very religious family, spiritual family. It's just unfortunate that it took place and happened in their home. And so for us as a community, we want to wrap our arms around them, let them know that we support them and that we got their back. And not only we're going to make sure that MSP pays for it, but we heal the hurt that was done. And that's where we should be moving to. We talk about delivering justice. One thing for sure, Michigan State Police Department did a blotched job. Terrible. The intel was terrible. And it need to be dealt with for that. And so it's going to cost them. And these are ramifications for going in illegally into someone's home and disrespecting them, devaluing them. The way that they was treated, the way that the children, the way that the family was treated, you don't wish that on anyone. They were already scared. They already didn't know what was going on. They were already frantic. And it was just by the luck that we did get a hunch in the neighborhood. We seen these police officers over there for the past couple of days. And so from the intel and understanding through the neighborhood and people working together, we were able to see how this all played out. So everything is documented. Everything is captured. It's our job to make sure that we follow through and ensure not only the family is being taken care of and they're receiving all the resources and the support that they need. But then also we end the ban no knocks warrants here in Michigan and abroad. And that's what we're saying here. We have to talk about police reform. We talk about police reform. This is a part of police reform. Our thing is about abolishing systems, right, and recreating things that work for us in today's terms. And so they only do these no-knock warrants in black communities. As I said, was stated before, they wouldn't do this out in Flint, they wouldn't do this out in Grand Blanc, they wouldn't do this out there where it's predominantly white communities. They handle them differently. They'll notify them ahead of time, and they give them the rundown of what they need to do. This got to change. And so it's our job as this community to step up. It's our job to protect the residents here, to be a force. And when something is done wrong to our people and our community, our members, our residents, then we deal with it directly. So we're calling on an investigation from the DOJ. We have Black Lives Matter support from the global, state, and Flint chapter. We're going to push the issue, whatever we need to do, whether we need to be out there in front of the Michigan State Police Departments and any precincts where we put the action out. We all about action. And so what we're saying is we need to get this done now or other problems arise. So what we need is right now is make sure that we give reverence to the family. Appreciate everyone coming out and definitely listening to what's being said. But we want that investigation to happen pronto. We want to be able to go ahead and provide some information on how that process is going as soon as possible. So those are some of the workings and the dealings that we'll be doing with the family on behalf of attorneys and also in the Flint community. So we greatly appreciate all the support. Let's continue to give our love and reverence to the Dunnigan and Colston family. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks, everyone. Attorney Goodman and I are here with the family to answer any questions that you may have.
If I may, I'm looking at the statement that I requested from MSP yesterday, and they say that they have apologized and, quote, immediately began to work with both the landlord and the renters to remedy the situation, which included paying for repairs to the front door. Can you confirm that happened in that manner, and if not, how do you respond to that?
An apology only means something when it's done in a sincere way. This apology happened when they realized that this was not just a family that they could roll over. I think so often this happens to families all over this world, and because they don't know how to communicate or they don't have resources to reach out to help them to be able to navigate these systems, they accept those apologies. So yes, that apology came. The Michigan State Police in my mom's living room sat there and offered them $5,000 to make them whole again, which also came with signing this affidavit saying that you can't talk about this anymore. How often does that happen to communities where $5,000 is pretty much life-changing for families? So that to me is not an apology that's worth accepting when it's attached to strings. If it was an apology where it was done on camera, where we said this is a relationship we can begin to develop to work on these issues that we face, that would be something that would be worth talking about.
And the strings are attached to a gag.
Absolutely.
Right, and the door has not been repaired, so we don't know whether they've invested in any repairs. The door, as Ms. Renee had stated, is still broken. 2 months later.
In addition to what he was saying, in a statement from MSP also, they said that they have a policy against no-knock warrants and did not conduct one that night, explaining that twice they announced themselves. Can you explain, did anybody hear anything or explain why you believe that this was a no-knock warrant?
No, no one said anything. Like I said, my chair that I was sitting in is only a couple of, not far at all from the door. And it was my granddaughter and I sitting there, and we heard absolutely nothing. Like I said, I'm very nosy, and I'm glad I didn't move that day, because if I did, the first thing I would have did was ran to tell my daughter, and they probably would have shot me going up the stairs thinking either I had something or I was going to get something. So they said nothing at all, because like I stated, I would have let them in with no problem.
And that's not what they told us sitting in my mom's living room. They said these no-knock warrants have to happen in order to surprise criminals who they're looking for. They don't want them to be prepared. They don't want them to be able to hide stuff or get rid of evidence. So these happen. So they were not denying that this was a no-knock warrant ever. This is the first that I've heard that they said that. And the only way this could be considered a knock warrant is if the sledgehammer bashing in the door is the knock that they're talking about. That happened. That's the truth. Those are the facts. I don't care if it's what you say at 10:45 at night. Who does a raid at 10:45 at night that you can't do in this daytime? What happens if me or my brother was there and they're looking for a male suspect? I'm a licensed firearm holder. What happens if you bust in the door while I'm there and my instincts are to protect my family?
I think it's a hollow. The fact that they say they announced their presence twice is phony, and you can see right through it. If they wanted to announce their presence, there's a doorbell, there's a fist, you can knock on the door, you can see that, tell people at 10:45 at night that there's someone who wants to see them and talk to them. That didn't happen. They bust in the door, they smashed the door.
And more importantly, they should be accountable for what they've done. They had the obligation to do some work to determine whether the confidential informant was actually trustworthy. I have worked as a prosecutor in the past. I have worked with the State Drug Bureau, so I understand these processes, and I know what needs to go into it, and MSP did not do their due diligence before knocking in that door.
This morning, I've already attempted to get them to explain what is their process in that regard. Have not received a response yet. But as someone who says they have knowledge of that process, what should have happened in this situation?
What should have happened is if they had information from a confidential informant, they should have first ensured that the confidential informant was someone with credibility. Obviously, that person was not. Secondly, they should have taken steps to ensure that the search warrant provided the necessary information to conduct the raid. We don't know what's in the search warrant. They've not turned that over to us. We have submitted a FOIA request 2 months ago, about a month and a half ago, have not received anything. So we don't know if they had the address of this family on that search warrant. But the search warrant should have been legitimate, and it should have been exercised in a way that is legal. That didn't happen here.
In fact, when the family met with the state police, they asked to see the warrant. Teresa was there, my partner Julie Hurwitz was there. They asked to see the warrant, and they said no. We can't show it to you. It's suppressed. Now, what kind of a policy is that? That they say they have a policy against no-knock warrants. Well, if it's a run-of-the-mill standard warrant, they ought to be able to show it, and they didn't. They refused.
That's public information.
Why are you holding this today, a month and a half later? Why are you just now going public with all of this?
Well, I think that for us, it was important for us to try to work the relationship with the Michigan State Police. Again, I wouldn't want to live in a world without police. I want to make that clear. But at the same time, if we do something that's against the law or illegal, we have to pay those consequences. We have to serve the time in which whatever those charges are brought up against us. This was not right. This was not legal. And if the law could do whatever they want, what stops them from just coming over and taking over anything that we have? So we've tried to work those relationships. We've sat down, we've talked with them on several different occasions, and they've led to this. We sat down, like I said, they offered my family $5,000, which was, for me, just out of the blue. And I'm like, if you're offering that, you know that you've done something that you shouldn't have, and you're hiding something. We have yet to see any proof that this was a legit warrant. I've watched so many movies with police raids, and they come in, and the first thing they do is hand you a warrant. We have not seen that. We have not seen that. And until they do, this is not a relationship that can go on the way it's supposed to.
Right, and this family knows the importance of ensuring that they educate the public about the danger of no-knock warrants. We've seen nationally a call for police reform. We've seen even within our state, with the pending State Bill 479, an attempt to ban no-knock warrants. I live near the city of Lansing. The city of Lansing has banned no-knock warrants because they see the dangers of this. So this is something that everyone needs to be aware of. We all know what happened in the Breonna Taylor instance. She ended up losing her life as a result of a no-knock warrant, another innocent person. So this family feels the importance of not only ensuring that they receive the support that they need as they cope with this unfortunate situation, but trying to protect some other families from this type of police misconduct.
Absolutely. And if they issued a warrant that was not a no-knock warrant, tell them let us to see the body cam. Show us the body cam footage to where you knocked or you said you were who you were.
We'll see it.
Let us see it.
We will.
When do you expect to hear from the Justice Department? And also, is there a possibility of a civil suit coming out of this?
They probably received the letter yesterday, and I would hope and expect to hear from them within a week or two. The Justice Department is swamped, as we all know, with all sorts of investigations, but I would expect to hear from somebody relatively shortly. As far as whether we expect and intend to bring a lawsuit against responsible individuals and government entities, the answer is yes, right?
Yes.
Yes. The answer is definitely yes.
Is there a timetable for when you might file that?
Well, we have filed a Freedom of Information Act request on the state of Michigan to get these papers. When we get a response to that, which should be relatively soon, within a week or two, or 3, I think.
Maybe 3.
Yeah. We will be able to see we'll be able to see in black and white what they have in front of them and be able to formulate a more specific and focused complaint. So it'll be shortly, but that's the timetable that we're working with.
You mentioned body cams. Were there any body cams on any of the officers that raided the home?
We're not aware of that.
All of the officers were plain clothes, except with the exception of the SWAT team. SWAT team were fully geared, shields, guns. So I assume there should be some type of body cam on their uniform. No mask. No officer had a mask on inside the house at all.
And those would have been the first officers through the door.
The SWAT team, yes.
MSP SWAT team. Yes, sir.
Can you clarify when the family was sitting there for, as you estimated, about an hour, were guns pointed at them that entire The entire length of time, somebody had a gun? pointed at-
Someone hit a gun all, at every point while they was there.
Can you describe what type of guns they were?
Big,
Okay,
big with beams. That's all I can say.
okay.
I was just in unbelief, like, I never would have thought it would have happened to my family.
Traumatic experiences can have devastating effects on the oldest and most mature of us. We're dealing with some young children in this case as well. And we have seen what has happened even with the Flint water crisis with lingering effects. Do you all as a family have concerns that, you know, your young nieces and nephews will have long-term effects because of what they experienced here?
Absolutely. I think that it's a long road to recovery. In the black community, we're taught to just get over it and move on with your life. I don't know how often we've seen somebody killed, some of our friends, family members killed in the street, and there's never a counselor or therapist sent in to help us. In white communities, shootings happen, and instantly they send in help to start the process of talking and working out through your emotions and feelings. This is something that's going to take place with this family only because that we've connected to resources. My wife is a licensed marriage and family therapist who runs her own business and is able to help us to navigate those systems. But if you don't have access to somebody that's in that field, it makes it nearly impossible to understand not only how to get those resources, but how important they are to you being able to get back to who you are as a person. My nephew is 3 years old, and I got video of him talking about how he feels about the police now. How he, every time he sees them, he thinks they're on their way to his house to break in his house again. That just should not happen. From a 3-year-old who, a week before that, wanted to be a police officer, who chased from, what's this? Paw Patrol was his favorite pup. Now he won't chase no more. You know, so these are things that people on the outside looking in might think are minor, but these are things that he's going to deal with for the rest of his life, with or without counseling.
Even another thing that I want to say, my 14-year-old daughter, from first grade, she's in 9th grade now, has never had under a B. Always has been on the AB honor roll into 9th grade. Within the first 3 weeks this happened, her grades dropped to all C's and D's. Me, the first 2 weeks, being embarrassed because we're a good family, we go to church, and I don't want to tell her teachers that my daughter isn't getting any sleep because our house was raided, because then they're going to think, oh, well, what did they do? And to me, finally having to explain to the teachers, this is why she's falling behind. She's not getting any sleep. She's going to school at home, so she don't have the teacher in her face to try and keep her awake. And her grades, 3 weeks, all dropped to C's and D's. You know, now that she's getting therapy, and now that we are able to, the teachers have allowed her to make up her work. She is bringing her grades back up, but from her to go from all A's and B's in a matter of 3 weeks to all C's and D's, for her to never have that, and not even to, her teachers are like, what's going on with her grades, you know? So even that alone is already showing an effect on her.
In addition to just having sat through what you sat through as a mother, or as an individual, as a mother, what kind of toll is it taking on you to try to help your children through these nightmares and, you know, all of these lingering emotional effects of what they experience?
What sucks the most.
And if you could step forward.
What sucks the most is to not have the answers. As parents, and I'm a single mother, so as parents, we always want to be able to have the answers, and we always want to be the one that our kids are able to go to and they're able to get that from. And for me to tell her, to have to tell her, I don't know, or I was scared, you know, for that alone, for her to even have to feel like the person who I depend on and lead upon the most, for her to also be afraid, and me having to sit there and try and keep this tough, strong face on while they're there, you know, for her, she knows me best. For her to know that my mom is not okay. You know, things like that, in a sense, is also something that I haven't got over, because I feel like, in a sense, I failed them because I didn't have the answers that they needed at the time.
Mrs. Dunnigan, could you respond to that as well? Obviously, this is your daughter and your grandchildren here.
Yes.
What kind of toll is all of this taking on you as you deal with your own trauma from this and also try to help them through the same?
Yes, so the first couple of nights, The both of them slept with me, you know, and we used to hearing gunshots, you know. So, but for it to come to be that close to us, so now every time they hear one, you know, that's what they're doing. They're coming in my room for comfort, and then I'm still scared and shook, so I don't know if we should go to the upstairs or what. So like I said, when it's hard for them, it's even harder for us.
That's
So,
a sad testimony, what you just said. We're used to hearing gunshots.
yes, we're used to hearing.
Is society just numb to all of this in your mind?
I mean, we learn to deal with it, the gunshots, listening to it, you know, and just trying to stay prayed up and hope, wishing that it don't happen to us, because we don't deserve it. But a lot of people, you know, stuff happen to that don't deserve it. And like I said, we just don't know what to do for them. Just to see her now, emotional about, you know, to even have to talk about it again and hear it again. So it's just really stirring everything right back up that they already haven't even got through yet. So it's hard for everyone.
I apologize if this has already been asked. I know you mentioned one of the reasons why you waited until today was hoping that things would be made right with MSP. Can I ask the family what it would have taken from MSP to make you feel like everything was okay?
I don't know if we have that answer. We've never experienced this. We've never been through anything like this. So I don't know if we have that answer.
What were you waiting for?
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, we like I said, we're waiting because we are relational type people. You know, we believe in relationships with people, no matter who you are, what you look like, what type of job you have. But when that relationship is not going in the way in which you desire, and the insult of $5,000, I don't know where else we go from there.
Look, here's what it's going to require. It's going to require a thoroughgoing investigation. There should be an internal investigation within the Michigan State Police Department. And I would be even more shocked than I am with them now if they were not engaging in such a finding. But that investigation should include findings. It should include findings of fault, if there is fault. And it should include training, supervision, and discipline of those officers who made, you know, a series of terrible mistakes that they made. You just heard from Renee Dunnigan that they sometimes hear shots in their neighborhood. Well, I'm sure it wouldn't be surprising to hear someone say police in their neighborhood. Does that mean that the police are going to bust in your front door? Of course not. These policies have to be revised. That's another thing that needs to happen. These children and this family needs to have ongoing counseling and medical care, and that has to be a lifetime. I hope that they're taken care of for a lifetime. All of these things need to be done, and it's going to take some time to sort through it. And as to why it has taken so long, as you said, a month and a half, for us to have this press conference, first of all, we just notified the Department of Justice, and we are announcing that almost on the eve of having made that demand, that requested demand. And it's taken that long for these people to get themselves sufficiently together so that they can even appear and talk to you folks. That's not so easy. That can't be done as quickly as you know, the next day. No.
So we need to go ahead and wrap up. We thank you for being here. We'll be available afterwards if you have any further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.